I feel rather humbled to stand here because I just have a little story of thousands of people who worked very quietly on the ground. And I've had the privilege today of hearing the most amazing people from Africa and other places. And I feel I pale in existence just to have heard you. So may I congratulate you all. I think you are outstanding. So, my story is one of supreme privilege of being able to walk alongside thousands and thousands of South African mamas and some tatas from when I was 20, 21. And it was a story of discovery, of privilege, and of an unbelievable experience. And may I please share that with you. Today, the work that we did together over the years when we were in and out of prison together and in and out of police vans and police stations, and when terrible things happened to some of us, we now very proudly present Ikamva Labantu, which is a non-government organization owned by the people on the ground. For those who haven't been to South Africa and to Cape Town, this is beautiful Cape Town, where the town nestles underneath a wonderful mountain called Table Mountain, with the most beautiful peninsula where many of us live in utmost luxury. This is the other side of Cape Town. The Cape Town I found when I was a young girl, and I'll tell you the story a little later. This slide is the same slide as you've just seen 25 years later. So there isn't really much improvement, although there's freedom. We don't have economic freedom. This is how most of our people draw their water. What Ikamva Labantu does and has done is cares for vulnerable children who are in preschools, who are orphans, and we do it through the mamas. The mamas take in the children. This is an example of a mama she's got 14 children, and she can love 14 children. I had 3, not a good job. Or a granny whose children have passed away from AIDS or AIDS-related illnesses, and she has a child, and I'll tell you how we do that. This is a child-headed household. You can see these are 2 sisters, and I'll go on to tell you how we care for these children. Usually we find the beginning of a preschool in something that looks like this, and how we work together is to create a preschool that looks like this. So that preschool turned into that. That's the same preschool. The care for these senior citizens is non-existent at all. And I'll tell you the story of how we started caring for seniors, opening up centers that created seniors enjoying their lives, being productive. They produce amazing things. And in the end, with all the programs, we found that we could not service all the thousands of programs that were part of Ikamva. So we started building multi-purpose centers in strategic points throughout the townships. And during the bad years, I found a corrupt official who was prepared to sell me land very cheaply. And I was as corrupt and bought the land and registered. It wasn't a very pleasant story because it follows another story, and bought the land and registered it in the name of the community, because I never wanted to own land that I should not own. And not even knowing that one day I'd have the opportunity to create. I have 19 centres now with help desks and activities, and you'll see. And they're places of joy and wonder. These are the type of meetings we have with communities. We run very few meetings as an organisation. Communities run them themselves. But living in a shack land, as they do, where would they meet? They have their community centres. Then there's smaller groups of mamas that meet in area forums. So it all cascades in different groups that feed into the larger groups of different processes, orphans, preschools, after-school programs, seniors, youth programs. As you see here, we run youth programs. There is a lovely little story, if I may quickly tell you, that when a lovely young man came from America offering to give chess lessons, I was a bit nervous about it because I couldn't, when you mentioned chess to the children, they didn't quite understand what I was talking about. But there was a group who lived in the shacks near one of the big centres that we have, and they said they'd like to try. So we took these kids, and he started teaching them, and they just loved it. They came every afternoon, and you can't just bring children in after school and teach chess. You've got to feed them. You've got to do much more than that when a child comes in, because their lives are very different. And the care that you give them and their safety, walking each child home, that they aren't accosted en route home. So it was a whole setup. But to cut a long story short, everybody said, as usual, when I see something and I want to do something, because we're overwhelmed with work and overwhelmed with duties that have to be properly executed, I'm always told, leave it, don't do it. You lumber us with more to do. But to cut a long story short, 9 of these children are now South African chess champions. 1 will go to New York. And she's just been orphaned, and her mother has just died, and so that, it's very sad that her mother didn't live to see her daughter being able to go to New York. In our centres, a tremendous amount of training goes on, and we try to keep the training in Indigenous language and done by our own people. It's much more meaningful, it's much more appreciated, and it's right. And one of the joyous things is when a mama is barely literate because of lack of opportunity, and she graduates with a CETA accredited certificate, I don't think one can understand that feeling of pride, because all her life she's cleaned up after others, she's been told where to live, and she's been knocked around by the system. And here all of these have become registered home-based carers. Yes, they will go out and help our nursing and caring for people that are terminally ill, but they now have certification, and with it is the celebration. In all our centres, there's regular celebration, and it's lovely, it's wonderful to watch. And each centre and all over, we have our gardens, and this was just a snapshot that I took of the pride and the wonder of having your own piece of ground, and we don't think of that. Having your own piece, and planting your own vegetables, and you owning them, or allowing others to take it at your wish. This is I've just come from the Clinton Global Initiative. I was very, very surprised. Little me from South Africa, who spends my life running around the townships, got this wonderful phone call and then followed by email. And I was given an invitation to present, and then eventually present a paper on the new work that we're doing, which is we are establishing our own experiential learning ECD, Early Childhood Development College, with a parent centre. There is no parent centre. There's nowhere for anybody to take their child who might have challenges, or even for many children we have in our preschools are children of children. There's nowhere that you can coach that young person how to bring up their child, what child development is, what type of support they might need, where they can take it. So this is a very big step forward, and it's quite a gamble because it needs support, and I'm working on that. And it links into the most important thing, which is, that's the type of child that I want to achieve. Many of our preschools create children and grow children like this, but that's the ultimate goal for that. But it links into, into this centre that I've just built, which gets launched on the 2nd of December, but it's been running for a year, with a health centre. And the health centre isn't about us providing health services. It's about letting people understand that you don't wait till you're ill to go to a doctor or to see to your health or to take responsibility of your health issues. It's about preventative health. It's about understanding yourself and those that you care for and how to remain well. And it's called ekululekweni. And ekululekweni means freedom. And when I asked the people, why did you call it freedom? It was freedom from ill health. Freedom to be able to be well. Freedom to take control of myself. And we were voted by Vodacom Phones, the leading NGO in South Africa, and we were given as our gift a doctor. And here you see the doctor talking to the mamas, and we started a new thing. Men don't find it easy to go to a doctor with any problems. They're just macho and nothing goes wrong with them. So we've now opened a men's health. And this gentleman felt his personal issue could not be done in the centre. He had to meet outside the centre to speak to, and they'll get used to that. A lot of HIV, AIDS, counselling, caring, that is very open. I run around the townships in a positive T-shirt, and the positive means positive about AIDS, positive about illness, positive about dealing with my issues. And we've just opened the first eye clinic in the townships. We found that 45% of the failures in Khayelitsha, which is a very large township, 45% of the children had visual problems. They're failing school because they can't see. And nobody's testing or seeing to it. So we've opened and we were given this wonderful facility. So now my story. How did it happen? Well, I was all of 21 when I took on my first position at a major hospital in Cape Town, and I was given the black position. I'm a speech pathologist, a speech therapist. And it was the most horrific experience because in the black section, there was no apparatus. There was very limited therapeutic time, and I had very severe cases of laryngectomies, facial repair, all the accident cases, brain tumors. And my patients were just discharged, as they were going home to die. And when I challenged my superiors on the white side of the hospital, they told me, these were their words, that they did not want more for them. And for me, standing in front of my superior woman, it was like a dagger. It was so unjust and it was so wrong. And I was totally unaware that that was the position in South Africa. I don't know how I grew up not understanding or knowing the effect of apartheid and the hell it was creating for our fellow citizens. And so what happened is that I went looking for my patients in the townships. It was very difficult to get there because of the military, the police, and I didn't know where to go. And I didn't know that the road of discord would begin. I eventually found somebody that I bullied, and I threatened to take her to the police if she didn't take me to the townships to see the child that I knew was dying. She became my closest friend. She hated me from the first day she met me because of the questions I asked in the hospital, because she thought I was an informer. And anyway, she took me and I found the baby and I found the townships. I cannot express to you the hell and the horror that I saw. It was 1963. The poverty, the stench, the fear, the military. It was the most terrible experience and something that I still get nightmares about. And it was a time I felt I didn't want to live. It was just terrible. I took the baby back and I got into trouble, my first warning letter. But I was compelled to go back day after day after day, which I did. And of course, arrest after arrest. But I started working and there was nowhere to work. I worked all over the place, at the backyards, under the trees, in the sand, in the wind and the rain, but I went. And unfortunately, a woman came and offered me her key to her little house. And as I stood there and she said to me, "I know what you're doing." I couldn't believe that somebody could bring me the key to her house. Would I have given her the key to my house? Anyway, unfortunately, the key, that apprised the police, that because lines and lines would stand for me every afternoon after work. And so for all of us, all that terrible stuff started. But then wonderful things happened. And this is what I want to bring to you. People came to me and I hadn't thought of an organization, I hadn't thought of programs, I hadn't thought of social development, I thought of nothing. I just worried about all the people that I was dealing with. And I was too young and naive and stupid, and I can't tell you the things that I did. But these wonderful women came and said, "We have children all over, and there wasn't one preschool, one senior center, one formal place that children who were orphans were cared for. There was nothing. It was a barren hellhole." And each one of them expressed, as they came to me, and said, we'd like to do something. With this lady, her name is Tutu Krememi, we opened all the places of care for seniors. I cannot tell you how she has been knocked around and tortured, and she's still there, fighting for the seniors, fighting for their rights and serving them day and night. Next one. This lady is Nomsa. Nomsa passed away this year. She was the lady that said there are children all over, and we took the furniture out of her house and we brought the kids in from the street and I covered it with plastic for the rain, and so started the first preschool, which then spread all over the country. And 10 years later, I had 1,000 of those all over the country because I just was running all over. Time's going, so I can't tell you too much. This is the woman that I would like to tell you the story, that she came to me and said, "There's 6,000 children in the sand dunes over there. They can't read or write, and there's no school." And she made me go with her, and we went, and there were 6,000 children. And if you can believe, you try and get 6,000 children to stand and count them. You try and divide them into age groups. They listened and they did it. And she had 20 women who she said could read and write. And she said, "I will be the principal and you will build the school." And I stood there. For 5 years, we sat on stones and paintings. We wrote with sticks in the sand because I was a named person. I'd by now lost my job. I had a criminal record. I'd been thrown out and I'd lost my life because as a named person and being followed with security police, other people ran away because their husbands wanted government contracts or whatever. So but I didn't notice that nobody was my friend anymore. Because I had the privilege of more wonderful friends. And for me, I carry them in my heart forever. They're my true friends because they have built South Africa. They have created the social development of South Africa. I wish I could finish the story about her because Mandela visited her. Mandela on the island, darling Madiba, heard about Florence and heard while he was there all those years, because he told me when he met me one day. And when he came out of prison, he asked for one thing, and that's to go and see the mamas. And now we had built a school and we'd created a syllabus, and the 20 mamas that were with them, he'd created it and he'd gone to see it. But my message is that here I stand as the fairy godmother. Believe me, I'm not. Getting the profile, getting the praise for something that I really didn't do. Because I sacrificed very little other than a few friends who today I can't create friendships with because I don't have much in common with them, unfortunately. But there are magnificent, amazing people on the ground who were the backbone and the builders of our country, who kept our country alive and created the social development of our entire country. So if you think of South Africa, my words are, don't think of the great leaders, and they're not such great leaders. Don't think of all the other things. Stand up and praise the women on the ground who sacrificed their lives. And there were many, whether thousands, because we have on record over 1 million children that have passed through their hands, not through mine. And they have been the backbone. And I dedicate this talk to my mamas in South Africa. Thank you.